quite made up my mind who I really think Jesus is, but I can tell you what the city of Jerusalem called him, the Blessed One who comes in the name of the Lord. That's what they shouted at him that day that Jesus rode in the city in the back of a pit. It was the time of the Passover, and the city was teeming with people, myself included, who had come to celebrate the feast. Somehow, the news of his arrival had spread throughout the city, and a great mass of admirers gathered around Jesus on the road leading to Jerusalem. I do not live in the capital city, but I am not completely in the dark about the happenings of my land. Sure, I had heard some stories about this Jesus, but I was not prepared for the reception he got from these people. These people greeted Jesus like a conquering king. I saw people take off their cloaks and spread them on the ground before him. Others cut branches from nearby trees and bushes and used them to create the robe in front of him. This was such an extraordinary greeting that I felt compelled to ask, who is this man? Someone in the crowd told me that he was Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee, but he must have been more than that. The real answer to who is this man could be heard from the shouts of the people. Hosanna to the Son of David! Hosanna in the highest, they exclaimed. Others cried out, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Extraordinary, just extraordinary.
I say Jesus is? I say he is a condemned man. As a servant working in the governor's palace, I saw Jesus as he stood in front of Pilate. I knew that Jesus had been arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane while he was praying with his disciples. I heard it was one of his own men, the one called Judas Iscariot, that betrayed him. Apparently, a band of armed men sent by the chief priests arrested Jesus and took him for trial before Caiaphas, the high priest. It seems that his followers deserted him, fearful for their own lives. Standing alone before his accusers, Jesus was charged with blasphemy and condemned to die. But under Roman rule, the Jews do not have the authority to order an execution. So Jesus was tied up like a common criminal and led away to the Roman governor. That's where I saw him. I myself heard Pilate admit that he could find Jesus guilty of no charge. Yet, he gave him to the shouts of the crowd and handed Jesus over to be crucified. Soldiers took charge of Jesus after Pilate ordered his crucifixion. I stood by while they beat him mercilessly. I watched as they put a scarlet robe on his bloody shoulders, forced a crown of thorns in his head, put a staff in his hand, and laughed as they called him the King of the Jews. They spit on his face and took the staff and used it to beat him in the head again and again. I followed as they led an innocent man through the streets of Jerusalem. They forced Jesus to carry the heavy beam of the wooden cross that would be the instrument of his death. On the crest of a hill called Calvary, nails were driven through the condemned man's hands and feet. The cross was raised upright, and Jesus was left hanging between two thieves for all to watch as he suffered in agony. Some of the onlookers mocked him and called for Jesus to save himself, while soldiers cast lots to decide who would receive the robe he had been wearing. There in Calvary, I watched as the blood flowed from the wounds on his head, his hands, and his feet.